All right, you cannot talk about Nigeria's Independence Day in Nigeria without talking about Nigeria's global perception. We will always remember Tafawa Balewa when he addressed the United Nations General Assembly and the ovation, standing ovation that he got after that speech. Yes, Nigeria was, a formidable cultural influencer in the world. So let's talk more on this now as we bring in Professor Toyin Falola. Thank you so much for joining us. We know that you have been waiting, just standing by for hours for this conversation. Thank you so much, Prof. I would do apologize for keeping you that long. But I was talking about Tafawa Balewa, who, was respected and took Nigeria to a level where we were respected in the Committee of Nations. 64 years after, independence, where are we now? What is the perception of Nigeria in the global order?
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you are talking about the level of the state, you see some decline. But that has been compensated at the level of individuals, in which thousands of our citizens in various countries are doing well. There is no American, European university where you're not going to find a Nigerian professor. There is no hospital where you're not going to find, a major hospital where you're not going to find a Nigerian health practitioner. So, and the contributions are enormous. So at the level of individuals, that compensation is there. And we must never lose sight of that. And at the level of culture, give it to Nigeria, give it to that country. It is now one of the most impressive in terms of having cultural ambassadors. Ashake was in the UK, in the US. They all was full. Davido, all of them, and give it to Nollywood. That at that level, that influence remains. We call it soft power. Soft power. And the accumulation of soft power is a major advantage to the country. Whereas the state capacity may be declining, but that of individual is rising. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Now, when you look at the perception then, she was talking about the perception then and now, our foreign policies, our allies, and the way the international community, saw us as a country. 64 years down the line, do you think we have done well? Apart from the individuals that you've mentioned that have made the country proud individually.
Thank you. The way it works is that you need a strong military to make an impact. You need a strong economy to make an impact. And you have to put your house in order in terms of the perception of governance for you to generate influence. The narrative of corruption is damaging. The narrative of inability to create leadership in line with diplomacy and international politics has also diminished. So, and those will ultimately affect some of what you are talking about. Can they be recovered? They can be recovered. They can be recovered by giving your economy a boost. They can be recovered by having sincere leadership, because you are signaling. You can't separate the domestic from the external. It doesn't work like that. The domestic has to be strong before the external can be strong. Or you can have the case of North Korea, where the domestic is weak, as in that of the country, but the military power, by being nuclear, is very strong. So it's able to use that to leverage. Thank you.
Prof, at the last, or just concluded United Nations General Assembly, we saw the Vice President Kashim Shettima representing the President. I was, canvassing for a permanent seat for Nigeria at the United Nations Security Council. We're even now lobbying Finland for that position. Some have said it is a wish, for Nigeria. We do not have what it takes to get that seat. What do you think? Can Nigeria occupy that position?
Of the Security Council.
Why not? Well, it will need the collaboration of other members of the African Union. For instance, if the AU votes for Nigeria, then that possibility is there. Because it's not just a contest about Nigeria. It's also a contest about the continent. Whom do they want to put forward? You probably notice the ongoing competition over Secretary General of the Commonwealth, in which the three candidates are from Africa. At least they will choose one. So the basic issue is, whom are we competing with? Once we know who we are competing with, then we can move to the level of how do we attain that relevance. But it's possible. It's possible.
I would say a regional power, Prof, because when you look at South Africa today, they seem to be escalating their influence beyond the SADC region, even to become, some have said, look, some have described South Africa as a third, a middle power. Some have said they are now an emerging global power, whatever, how you see them. But between Nigeria and South Africa today, who has the greater influence in Africa?
Thank you. So the goal, because I worked briefly at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs for a year, the goal has always been Nigeria to be a middle power and to be part of a coalition of non-alignment and to have a major influence in the South. More recently, we damaged our reputation with respect to the young people governing the Sahel. We lost that. And I appeared on your television where we were warning the president, don't threaten these young boys. We've lost that. And our reputation is diminished. But bear in mind the following, that the flow to Nigeria of people from other countries remains very high. We do not even know the number of foreigners in that country. Why do they keep coming? Second, bear in mind that as we are not doing well, other people are not doing well. We pray for our countries to do well. But that means maybe we are doing better than them, providing opportunities to leverage. In terms of resources to do diplomacy, that money is not there. And if you don't have money to do diplomacy, your leveraging power is diminished. With respect to South Africa, it has boosted its own reputation significantly by taking Israel to the International Court of Justice. And because of its domestic economy, people from Botswana, from Zimbabwe, from Lesotho, from Swaziland, that is where they want to go. When Nigerians want to jackpot to Europe and the US, people in that region want to jackpot to South Africa. That gives it reputation and its capacity, although it's having infrastructural challenges, mainly of electricity. It still has more capacity to influence other people than Nigeria, even in small things like visa application. If you go to the UN's embassy in Johannesburg, they will give you a 10-year visa. So, and that reflects its image in terms of boosting its own capacity. Thank you.
Now, talking about alignments and those people that we've decided to do, extend our close ties with, have ties with, and those people that we've decided to have this bilateral relationship with, have we chosen over time? Have you seen? Do you think we've gone for the best set of people? Right now, we'll be very close to the likes of China, and we know if you are close to China, America, you might not be the best friend to the United States of America. How have you seen our alignment so far?
So geopolitics will always affect us. And we are not the one controlling that geopolitics. We are reacting to it. So it used to be the politics of the Cold War under Balewa that you mentioned. Then it changed to the politics of the unipolar world under the influence of China. Under the influence of the US. And now we have three dynamic actors: the United States, Russia, Wagner, and China. If you have strategic thinkers, that's an advantage. There's nothing wrong with that, because it means we can say, this is what is best for us at this particular time. This should be our interest at this particular time. Whom should you trade with? it's not a bad advantage. It's not a bad disadvantage. It allows policymakers to weigh alternative options without landing into conflict with anyone. If you travel between Lagos and Ibadan now, you're going to find many Chinese companies producing stuff. So we just have to manage that more carefully and not get involved. They can do their own fight. We don't want to get involved in their fight. We just want to benefit from those multiple relationships.
And in benefiting, Prof, again, we keep referencing Tafawa Balewa because he did foreign policy so well. He talked about maintaining an independent view. But where we are today is the idea of neutrality, and which is what you were talking about. We don't want to have issues with anybody. Which of them serves us better, having an independent view or the idea of neutrality?
So, because we have great policy documents, by the way, dating back to Olusanya, Akiyemi, we don't have issues with around policies. Our domestic issues are too consuming. And some of the previous speakers have spoken about land hunger, insecurity. Those will overwhelm you because you cannot be dealing with Zamfara, with Boko Haram. Those will overwhelm you. If having managed your own serious domestic issues, you can now say, these are the international issues you want to talk about. And our first call should even be within Africa. We should stabilize our region. We should stabilize, yes, please. We should stabilize the politics of the Sahel.
Right.
We should stabilize politics with Niger. We should stabilize politics with Cameroon. Those are our core issues. And then we can now say, when we move outside, what are we looking for? Development.
Prof, I'm afraid, my apologies, we're told that our time is up. We need to take a break now and run into the next program. Thank you so much, Prof. We are grateful to you, Prof. We cannot overstate it. Yes. And the time difference between Nigeria and the US.